Hi guys, how is everybody on this 7,452nd day of quarantine? Something like that. Maybe off for a few days. It's okay. We're doing good. I'm not saying I'm hating quarantine. I'm having some real lazy days. I'm having some restful days. I've been really, really blessed to have a husband who has a job his job has been prospering more through this pandemic than he does normally. So look at God. It has given me a chance to be home without worrying and stressing out over money, because anybody that's ever stressed out over money understands that it eats at you. But I'm having some really good days at home. I'm having some really good moments with God. I can honestly say that I have felt closer to God than I ever have in my whole life. And when you go through trials, some people draw closer to God when they're going through a really rough time. Me, I tend to pull away, and that's what I'm just coming out of a 6-year I can't describe it as anything else, but I've never really put a description on it, because it's the worst thing I ever went through. It was a culmination of not just one thing, but many, many things happening all at once, and it piled up on me and piled up on me, and it's just now turning itself around after 6 years. I honestly didn't think I was going to make it. There were days I did not know that I would live through it, to be honest. There were days that I didn't contemplate suicide ever, but there was a brief moment one day that I thought, I can understand why somebody would, if I had to feel what I felt in that moment for any period of time longer than the 5 minutes I felt it, that I could understand that why somebody would. And I'm just being honest. There were days that I wanted to get in my car and drive. Had nowhere to go, didn't know where I was going to head out to, and just run away. I felt probably the most alone I had ever felt in my whole life. Ever. I went to work every day. I got up every day. I sometimes woke up in tears and dried my tears, got myself together, and went to work, and nobody knew the difference. And the days that I had really hard time, and I'm thanking God for the outlet of the exercise and the gym that I could go to and just really work out the anxiety and the stress, and that helped me a lot. But looking back on it now, and to think, how did I do that? I don't know. Other than God's grace, it was a daily thing with me, because there were days, like I said, I just didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't think it mattered to anybody if I was here or not. I'm not trying to play the, oh, poor pitiful me, victim. I'm not. Just being real with how I felt at that moment. I didn't feel like anybody would miss me. I didn't feel like if I went away that it wouldn't even matter. Life would go on as usual with everybody. And financially, I wasn't able to do that, and that was probably the only, not the only barrier that I had, but the one of the hugest things that I had keeping me here, other than, I had to have some common sense about it. I would think about it, and I'd think, you can't do that. You got to stay. You got to be here. So before this pandemic ever came around, and before 2020 ever hit us, I just started making myself I can't really describe it, because it kind of just happened, and I just kind of started doing, like, in the mornings, I started listening to my Christian cassettes or CDs again in my car. I started listening to the music in my ears at the gym with my Christian music, which I hadn't been doing. I would get up every morning and I would listen to a message from T.D. Jakes. I would pick one. And I'm telling you, as everything I can witness, most every time I listened to him, no matter what the message was about, it was like he was talking to me. It was almost like God was confirming to me and telling me something through him about my situation, and how he didn't forget me. He didn't turn a blind eye. And when I started feeling my way back, because like I said, I pulled away, and it wasn't because I was mad at God. It wasn't because I blamed God. I felt like I wasn't worthy to approach him in my mess. I just felt like I wasn't allowed to have real feelings. The feelings I was having were hurt and anger and grief beyond belief. And I didn't feel like I've always been told that I wasn't allowed to go to him with those things, because that made me less. Like, if I admitted that I was angry or I was bitter, then that made me sinful. And I wasn't allowed to approach him with that. Does that make sense? Like, and then if I went to him, I would feel all that guilt of having those feelings. I can't really describe it, other than I finally got to a point where I just told God everything. And it wasn't pretty sometimes. Sometimes it was really, really ugly. I just told him, God, I'm angry. I'm frustrated. Some days hate. Some days I had hate. Not just dislike, hate. And that's not a feeling that I had felt too often, and I didn't like it. But I had it, and I didn't know what to do with it. So that made me feel even more condemned to talk to him. But I finally got to the point where I would just go to him and say, look, this is the way I feel. And I know I'm not hiding this from you, because you know my heart. You know my thoughts. You know my thoughts before they ever are a thought in my brain. You know the condition of my heart. You know everything about me. So I'm not hiding anything from you anyway. So why can't I talk to you about this? And you know what? The beautiful thing about it is, he wants you to. He is waiting for you to. He's not some tyrant. sitting up there waiting to crush you to dust. If you think about who we are as parents, if you have children, in our humanness, in all of our frailties and our faults, when our children mess up and they come back to us, how much are we to welcome them with our open arms? And it doesn't matter if they've hurt us in the, it doesn't matter if they've been away from us. It doesn't matter if they've, whatever, if they come to us, we will welcome them back. Oh, well, I'll speak for me. I will welcome them back, because there's nothing that my children could do to ever make me not want to be around them, or not make me not love them. So I'm thinking, how much more does a God who is perfect in our Creator and loves us so much that He died for us, how much more does He want us to go to Him with our needs? He's not expecting us just to, oh, most holy God, you know what? Sometimes you just got to get ugly with your prayer. It's like sometimes you got to get snot, you got to get tears. I'm not playing. And if my children would come to my door and I open that door and my children would be squalling and snotting, wanting me to come, you don't think I'm going to let them in? You don't think I'm going to open my door and say, come on in, honey, I've got you. Whatever you need, I got you. Your mama's got your back no matter what. Guess what? God does too. All you got to do, honey, you may not even be, see, I couldn't even say it. I couldn't even say the words. Tears. My prayers for 5 years were tears. 6 years, close to 6 years. Tears. That was it. That's all I could do. I couldn't whisper. Couldn't say it. But you know what? He was there. He was never he never left me alone. But when I could pray and I could really get real with God, and I could really say to Him, look, this is the way I'm feeling. I know it's not right, but this is how I feel, and this is me. I'm being just totally, completely transparent. And would you help me? Would you let me have the grace to get through this? And sure enough, I'd listen to another message, and there it was again. And there was something that I needed, just a little bit of confirmation in my spirit, just something that just encouraged my soul to go, you know what? God is hearing me. He'll put little jewels in your path to just say, I got you. I hear you. And I'm telling you what, within the last 3 or 4 weeks, maybe not even that long, there's been so much confirmation to everything I have been feeling in my spirit. I'll no longer say it or talk about it or think about it, as I will come across a message and it will be saying the same, almost verbatim, things I have just thought or said or talked about. But when 2020 came around, the first of the year, I just kept hearing restoration, restoration, restoration. And I got tenacious. And I got to where those things that I let die, those dreams, that I let die, those things that were causing me the grief, and I just admitted defeat with them. I pretty much put them away because this is impossible. God, this situation is impossible. Maybe to me, but it wasn't to him. And I got to where I thought, you know what? I'm not going to let anybody in this earth, no devil in hell, nobody is going to ever make me stop losing hope and faith in my dream. And so I started speaking it. Isn't that what faith is? Substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I still can't see it in my, I can see there was part of the prayer that has been answered. But the part of the prayer that I thought was impossible still looks impossible. But you know what I'm doing? I am thanking God every single day for that prayer being answered. I am speaking it into the atmosphere and putting it out there for any and every demonic force to hear. Because once I start claiming it, that's when God starts working. And so I've learned a lot about my faith, that I can speak those things, and I'm not going to don't let anybody rob you of what you're believing God for. Just because they say, well, look at that. That looks impossible. Honey, there's nothing impossible if you believe it, and if you have faith to know that God is going to be faithful and he will perform. And what happens is we get weak in our faith because we just get tired of, oh my goodness. But you know, I found out that God does his best work whenever it looks impossible, because he's going to get glory out of it. He's not going to wait. He's going to wait until there's no other person, entity, being, whatever, to get credit. He's going to wait till it was impossible. And when it's done, we're going to know it's him. And he's the only one that's going to get the glory out of it. And so I was believing for restoration. I still am. And I kept hearing that in my spirit, and I hear it in my spirit, and I pray and I speak it every day, and I'm getting I don't know what you want to call it. I feel God in so much of my daily life. I mean, I can't explain it. I just feel like I've got electricity all over me all the time. And I feel like it's God just with his presence, and he's helping me by letting me see these messages and letting me hear these words of confirmation. And I have made a time of prayer every night at 8 o'clock. I wasn't doing that. Like I said, I wasn't praying. I wasn't reading. I have a desire to read my Bible now, and I understand it. That was the thing. I didn't read it before because there was so much of it I did not understand. And I found out, and I want to help y'all, when you pray, when you read the word, read it out loud. Because Satan is the prince of the power of the air. Meaning he's got TV, internet, all the things in the airwaves. He's just in, out, in, out, in, out. And when you speak that word, you read that word, out loud, it disrupts his frequency. You're putting little, like when you're on a phone and you're going through a tunnel, it gives that interruption. There's some interruption to that atmosphere. So when you read your word, read it out loud. And if you have to read it over and over until you get the words right, that's what I have to do. And I have a King James version and I have a translated version. And if I don't understand the King James version, I will go and I will read the translated version right after that, just so I will understand exactly what it is that I'm reading. Because, like I said, I would read it before. I would skim over it, read it in my brain, just not read it, just thinking it, as I was reading. And there were words that I didn't get, I didn't understand, and I would just be like, My walk with God before all this was done out of guilt. Just get my reading done, just get my daily, and it wasn't daily, but it's like everything I did was like obligation, like it was a job, and it would ease my conscience for a while, and then I would have to do it, and then if I didn't, my conscience would really bother me. And so, like I said, I had some struggle there, but now it's like I feel him beckoning me. I feel him wooing me. I feel him letting me feel the desire to read the word and enlighten my understanding. And I've even done a couple Bible studies since I've been home, and I put them up on YouTube if you want to go and watch them. They're on my YouTube channel. If you just just hit my name and you'll find it. But I think today, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know for sure, but I think today is National Prayer Day. And I've already took my walk with my doggie this morning, and I always pray when I walk, and then I've been coming home on nice days, and I've just been walking my backyard and praying. My neighbors probably think I'm crazy, and I really don't care. So I just want to help somebody if you're having trouble with prayer right now. When you start out, the Bible gives us a outline of what God wants us to do when we pray. He gives us the Lord's Prayer, and people pray it, and say it, but I don't know if they really, I don't even know if they hear what they're saying. I gotta let my dog out. Hang on, gotta get out of this chair without falling. You coming out? Come on. Oh gosh. I don't even know if they hear what they're saying. People pray, and it's just that mundane, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And it's like, do you even hear what you're saying? Because it's really just an outline of the way he wants us to pray. And when I approach God, Father, okay, Father is a title. Father is who he is, as far as he can be our Father. He is our Father. But you know how many names there are of God in the Bible? There are, I don't even know, but I got online this morning and I printed out the names of God. And I made them into a thing here. And if you want to get God's attention, if you want to usher in the presence of the Lord, start by just get on your knees. Father, the Lord, the strong one, the God of Israel, the God of the Most High, God of truth, jealous God, God who saves, God of all comfort, the eternal God, all-sufficient one, all-powerful one, creator, the God who sees me, God with us. I am. The Lord will provide, the Lord my shield, the Lord who sanctifies, the Lord my banner, the Lord my light. The Lord is my shepherd. the Lord of armies, the Lord who heals, the Lord is peace, the Lord is there, the Lord our righteousness, the Lord my rock, the Lord my strength, Holy One, the Word, Christ, Helper, Teacher, Prince of Peace, I am, Adam, Advocate, Almighty, Alpha and Omega, Army of the Lord, Author and Finisher of our faith. I'm not going to go through all these, but once you start preaching, you can start by saying these, just like reading them, mundanely. But once you get into this, if you're thinking about what you're actually saying, and if you are actually believing what you're saying, and you're believing that's really who he is, something's gonna jump up in your spirit. Something's got to. If you can sit there and you can call God by his names and by his titles and by who he is in your life and who he is in the world and in the universe, and something doesn't jump up in your spirit, you probably should check to see if you're okay, because that's like your like I said, here we go with the analogies here with the parents. If your child is crying out to you, mommy, mommy, does your ears not perk up? Especially when they're upset, or when they're in need, and they're crying out to you, mommy. I don't care if you're in a dead sleep. You are going to wake up, and you're going to go to them. And if they're crying, maybe they've had a bad dream. What are you going to do? You're going to hug them, and you're going to say, honey, it's okay. Mommy's here. You can go back to sleep now. I got you. I got you. I got you. I'm not going to let anything hurt you. I'm your protector. And in the same, the same analogy, if you're sitting there calling God what you think about him and how he is to you, you're gonna feel him. You've got to. I mean, if you can't, like I said, I think there's something wrong. But if you want to usher in his presence, that's one of the ways that you should do it. And in that, following up by being thankful. Thanking him for everything. Like, what do we get? We get up in the morning. We have a warm bed. We have a home. We have food. We have clothes. We have just the things that we take advantage of every single day. But you know what? If you think about it, there's some people that don't have that. There's homeless people in this city as we speak. There's children that don't have a hot meal today, and especially since they've been at home with the COVID. Sometimes some of those children, that was their only meal, was what they got at school. So if you can start by being thankful and count your blessings, and then you can go into intercession for those people that I just spoke about, for your family, for people that you don't know that are hurting, the people that have lost loved ones in this this pandemic. And make sure you look at your heart. Make sure the condition of your heart is right. And if it's not, you need to get it right. Meaning, the part of the Lord's Prayer is, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And if you feel the weight of that scripture, if you really think about it, you're asking God to forgive you as you have forgiven others. And I'm telling you what, when I started feeling the Lord so strong in the last couple weeks, is when I made a conscious effort to forgive the one who hurt me. And that was so hard. You're asking me, how did you do that? Because I didn't know how to do it. I wanted to do it, but I mean, the hurt, it was not really anger, it was hurt, because I felt robbed and I felt cheated and I felt shorted and I felt like things were stolen from me that I'll never ever get back. And I was bitter and I was angry and I was hurt. And I had to ask God to help me, and there again, I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I watched a video of Miss Karen Wheaton, and she spoke on exactly the same thing. She was reading my life that night. She spoke of the 3 things that happened to me. Boom, boom, boom. In her life, she spoke those about, and the same things happened to me. And then she was talking about how she had to get over it and get over the hurt and the bitterness. And she said she had to sit a chair and not literally get that person, but in the spirit, sit that person down and sit them in that chair and say to them, Lord, or say to him, Lord, I release my anger, and I release my bitterness, and I release my hurt and my hatred to you. I give it to you. I can't continue to hold it. I can't continue to carry it. And would you bless that person? Would you bless them? Would you let them know and realize that they need you? If they don't find you and they continue walking and doing the things that they're doing, they're going to go to hell. They need a Savior. They need a Redeemer. They need something in their life to turn them around and show them the way that they should go. Release my heart, my spirit, so I can hear you, because I need forgiveness. And if I don't give forgiveness, then I won't get forgiveness. And when I did that, I can't even describe how the Lord opened up. It was like I could feel like I could breathe again. I could feel like I had a weight lifted off of me, you know? Like I could finally get a breath of fresh air in my lungs, and I didn't have that. It wasn't becoming of me. I'm not a hateful person. I'm not a bitter person. I'm not usually an angry person. But I had become that. And I did not like that about me. Because it was blocking, like I said, there it is. It was blocking my line to God. It was giving my line to God a little kink. Because I could pray and I could thank Him. But when there was unforgiveness and bitterness in this vessel, bitterness is like an acid that will eat the container that it's in. It's going to eat it up, and it's not going to be productive. You got to get rid of it. You got to release it. And it's something I have to do daily. I have to pray for them daily. And there's a memory that might pop up, or there's a feeling that hurt might pop up in my heart again. And I have to go to the proverbial chair again and say, Lord, would you please bless them? Lord, would you please show them who you are? Would you please convict them and let them find their way to you? I have to bless them, because you know what? When you do that, you take your hands off them. God can work with them. And when you pray for your enemies, it's like it's a scripture that says when you pray for your enemies, it's like heaping hot coals upon their head. Meaning, if you let go of it, God will take care of it, and He'll take care of it better than you could ever have taken care of it. So, today is a National Day of Prayer. And I admonish you sometime today, if you haven't already. I usually do mine at 8 o'clock at night, as well as me taking my walks and stuff through the day. But just think on these things a little bit, and, you know, just trust God right now. We're living in fearful times, but you're not supposed to be afraid. I won't be afraid. Thou art with me. I'm not going to live in fear. Whether I live or whether I die, I'm not going to be afraid. Because fear is a sin. It says it in Revelation. Fear is a sin. Fearful, the abominable, the adulterers, the whoremongers, all those people are going to have their place in the lake of fire. So fear is a sin, as well as lies. So why is fear a sin? Because when you're fearful, that means you don't trust God. And you're supposed to trust Him. You're supposed to love Him, and you're supposed to honor Him and put Him, you're supposed to do that. And if you don't do that, that's breaking the first commandment. So you're not going to add or take away anything from your life by worrying about, well, you can take away, but I'm saying you're not going to profit anything by worrying about a situation that you have no control over. You have no control over this pandemic. None. And if you don't think God's behind this, there's a plan. What the enemy means for evil, God's going to turn around for good, and I think He already has. I think the enemy thought, oh, hey, I'm going to take people out of church. I'm going to take people out of their, blah, blah, blah. And I think people have gotten closer being at home. I think people have gotten more unified, even in their division, because people aren't allowed to be, but I think it's caused people to be more unified. I think families have gotten more closer. I think that it's becoming more of, hey, this is what's really important, and I needed to have my eyes open to that. So I don't expect things to ever get back to what I called normal, and I hope they don't. I want them to be better than what they were. So don't fear. Don't be afraid. Call on your Father. He's there. He's never going to let us down. And walk in His peace. I mean, you've got to have peace. You've got to have peace. And it's a necessity for me. So I pray you all have peace, because if you don't, it's torment. If you don't have peace, it's torment. And that's not of God. He's not the author of confusion, nor has He given you anything but a sound mind. He has not given you a spirit of fear, but He's given you power and love and a sound mind. And if you have to tell yourself that every single day, every single moment of every single day, I have a sound mind. I have power, love, and a sound mind. I have not been given a spirit of fear, because there it is. Fear is a spirit, and it's not of God. Stand in who you are in God. Know that He is faithful. Know that He is trustworthy, and know that He will never fail you. And y'all enjoy this beautiful day. My neighbors are cooking. I can smell some burgers over there, so I'm getting hungry. So enjoy the beautiful day. Don't forget to pray. Don't forget to be thankful. And we're all going to make it through. Love y'all.